Hello and welcome to Drive and Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's movie, I want to talk to you about our Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature Podcast. We have a bunch of bonus episodes for $5 a month. You help support the show, and you get fun quizzes and stuff like that. Also, patrons got a sneak preview of our brand new art that you're seeing right now. I'm sure it's updated a little bit ago, but I'm really excited about that. But getting into today's movie, we are talking about Black Gunn from 1972, directed by Robert Hartford Davis, director of The Sandwich Man. Wow.
Oh,
You remember that guy? The Sandwich Man guy?
yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. And it stars Jim Brown as the main character. And that's the reason we picked it, is because of Jim Brown. Unfortunately, Jim Brown did pass away recently, and we wanted to kind of do a tribute to him. Ryan, you were actually the one that came up with the idea. So what are your memories or thoughts of Jim Brown?
Actually, like one of my earliest memories of Jim Brown was when I was like 10 years old,
Oh,
and
really?
I remember him from the movie Mars Attacks.
Okay, gotcha.
Have you seen that movie?
I actually have never seen Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah. He was in he was like a dad in that movie, and
Mhm.
he but he was like a former heavyweight boxer. So there's just like a scene where he's just like uppercutting like aliens in the head, and like their heads are exploding.
I think I've seen the clip. That sounds really familiar to me.
And I was just like, oh wow, he's really cool. And
Yeah, and then that's how we got here today.
yeah, kinda. The other part, I remember him from. My dad is a huge Clint Eastwood fan,
Mhm.
and one of his like big breakout roles, or at least probably his most famous role at one point, was The Dirty Dozen.
Yes, yeah, that seems to be like his most popular movie that he was in. Well,
So so that
go
was
ahead.
probably that was probably my introduction to him, mainly like that, like him as like the prime Jim Brown.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you brought this up, and I knew Jim Brown had died. Who Jim Brown, it was a famous football player, like considered one of the best running backs of all time. But he like I was reading, he retired at the prime of his football career to get into acting.
Well, thank God for that. Who needs football?
Honestly, there's plenty of other players, but there's only one Jim Brown in my movie. There's only one Black Gun.
Can I actually? There was one other thing I actually knew Jim Brown from, and it was actually a lot later.
Yeah.
So I was watching the movie one night in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and there's actually a younger version of Jim Brown, like somebody is playing Jim Brown, because it's about this famous meeting where it's like all these really famous black people like met together and had like a really deep conversation with each other. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, at the time, I was actually that they showed Jim Brown, like, oh, here's Jim Brown going back to his old hometown of St. Simons, uh, Georgia. And at the time, I was living there, and I was like, oh,
That's really
I
cool.
was like, oh wow, okay, I guess he was from here.
Oh,
And
that's really cool.
I, and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, Jim Brown literally lived like 5 minutes away from where I'm living right now.
That's awesome. So you you have a connection to Jim Brown, actually. That's a pretty close.
I guess you could say I'm part of his history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were invited to his funeral.
Yeah, I
Yeah, just
mean, like like a footnote. Like if
mhm.
when they write about this podcast, they'll be like Ryan and Jim Brown at one point.
They crossed paths at one point. Oh, and Nathan did a podcast with about it as well. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Well, you have your famous bird incident from Kentucky. That's
Yes,
that's what
yeah.
you're.
That's my whole thing. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of history that I feel like has gotten into the show, and we still have many
This
more episodes to
this
go.
podcast has its own lore.
It honestly does. So inside jokes and all. But
Anyway,
uh
sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. And I mean, that's a good primer to get started for this. Because I mean, Jim Brown was also really big in the civil rights. That was like one of his things. He was a huge civil rights activist. But Black Gunn is considered like his real, like his first lead role, I believe, like where he was fully the lead, because he was in other movies like Tick 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 and stuff like that. But
I think though the movie he got his first top billing was actually 100 Rifles,
okay,
as I think it was
gotcha.
what it was, and actually Burt Reynolds is in that one too.
Oh, really?
But I believe he has like the top billing of the cast of that movie. So at one point he outranked Burt Reynolds.
That's crazy. That's really cool, actually. But Black Gunn is it was nice starting Black Gunn, and I will say that because we haven't done like a 70s exploitation movie in a little bit. When we turned it on, I was like, oh, we haven't watched a movie with this particular look, this particular feeling in a little bit. So it was kind of like back to basics, back to original, because it is a blaxploitation movie. It is very much about just, it's a very black centric movie, and I'm cool with that. It's a cool, it's always a fun time at least getting into these type of movies.
Yeah, it has a lot of a lot of the check marks in there. It's like evil
Hmm.
white organization is in there.
Yeah.
They have a very cool like main protagonist.
Hmm.
Somebody he knows or loves has been affected by some stuff, and he's going out for some revenge.
Yeah, it's classic revenge story. Yeah, and I mean it just has a nice city feeling to it. It kind of opens with like dark city streets and funky music. The music in this is really good. I really like the soundtrack to this. I mean, it's like just a classic funk soundtrack, but it fits the feeling really well. Um, but what I like most about this opening is it opens up with a crime taking place, a heist, with this dude wearing the most fake mustache and fake afro.
Well, yeah, and I'm like, so I mean, it's revealed that it's a younger guy underneath all that makeup,
Hmm.
and I'm like, how long was he working there? And like, did he have to how long was he casing that place out? Like, because they're pretty familiar with like this janitor, and like you said,
Hmm.
he's got like a big fake white gray afro with like
Yeah.
basically looks like Groucho Marx, like a mustache or
Yeah.
whatever on. It's like, yeah, this looks like a normal person. Like,
Yeah, yeah, they were, and they knew him by name. They're like, "Oh, it's just the janitor," like because this group of white people are having like a talk about like crime stuff, general crime stuff, and
oh yeah, and already immediately established that they are racist too.
oh yeah, of course, yeah. This movie is definitely, the white people are extremely racist in this movie, and it also been a little bit since I'd heard some stuff like this dropped in a movie.
Well, no, I mean Joe wasn't that far away.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Joe. Joe actually was much more rough than this.
Joe would be a great antagonist for a blaxploitation movie.
Honestly, it feels like it would be like Joe 2, if it came out just a little bit after, it would work into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they are extremely racist. But the whole thing about the movie is there is a group called Black Action Group called BAG, and they steal not money from these people. They steal books, so dealings and tons of money, that is going to get them killed. Pretty much, that is what it is, and it's Jim Brown's brother. Jim Brown doesn't even have anything to do with this, which is something that I like. I like that Jim Brown, it's more put onto him all of the stress because it's his brother that does this robbery.
And Jim Brown is like a super very cool, suave type of guy. He owns
Hmm.
his own club. It's called the Gunn the Gun Club.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Eh,
Yeah.
eh. And they just go in there and like there's always like all these people dancing, having a good time, and
Yeah.
like all these different ladies like, oh yeah, baby, I remember your name, and then he just says her name and it's like, no, that's not my name.
Yeah. I love that. I love Jim Brown in this movie. I totally get the appeal while watching this. He is just cool, he's suave. And like you think of athletes becoming actors and you really think negative things. Usually that's not the best transition. But I think he actually transitions pretty well into the acting role, like in an acting role.
Oh yeah, I mean he's such a huge presence on screen. I mean he
Yeah.
doesn't even have to talk, and he already just like
Mhm.
it's like he's like the center of attention. And
Yeah.
but no, I mean he does really well, I think. I mean I mean when you watch a movie like this, he's like, oh, that's just who he is. He's Mr. Gunn.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, yep, that's Gunn. Like he fits that role so perfectly. And the club is really cool. I love it. And he's all about him and his brother kind of clashing against each other because I feel like Gunn is more like believes in being a self-starter and working hard to have his money. He worked hard to get this club made.
Oh yeah, and like you said, since it's like the militant group, he's kind of like doing it for the greater good of the black people, being like, well, if I rob this, then we can buy all these other resources for our group. And
Mhm.
because it's like a group of black veterans from the Vietnam War. They do reveal who well, there's two bad guys in here, really, like two main bad guys.
Mhm.
One is Martin Landau,
Yeah, Martin Landau.
which,
I did not
which
know that going in.
and that's already pretty shocking because Ed Wood is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and
Mhm.
Martin Landau is great in that movie.
Oh,
And
he's wonderful in that movie.
but it's so alarming hearing him just like letting the N word fly, and it's just like, oh wow, this is.
Well, yeah, he does. He is extremely racist.
So I mean, again, it's a part of the time. It's the
Oh
movie.
yeah,
So,
it's the
but
movie,
yeah,
and they're obvious. He's obviously the bad guy. Like he's a horrible racist dude, and you're not supposed to root for him in any way. Unlike
right.
Joe.
No.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the other main antagonist is a returning actor,
Yes.
Bruce Glover from Diamonds Are Forever. He goes from playing a gay assassin to now playing a racist mobster.
And good Lord, he says some of the worst stuff you could imagine. And he's so antagonistic to black people. Like one line that I wrote down, it's not I mean, it's horrible, but no
Oh, here we
slurs are
go.
dropped.
Here we go.
Yeah, but he said he walks up to them and is like, hey, I'm starting a poll to see if we are okay with restarting slavery. It's like, what? What?
Yeah.
Just some insane stuff.
No, I was about to say this guy is unhinged. Like he
Yeah,
is completely violent, just very much like just violently assaulting like
yeah.
innocent people.
Yeah,
And
and violently, like when I mean like when you say violent, it's really bad. But don't worry, Jim Brown isn't gonna let it slide for too long.
no, I mean Jim Brown, like you said, he does not want any part of this. I mean, he even
Hmm.
tells his brother like you got to take those books back. You don't like there's do not even get involved in this type of stuff. And
Hmm.
like even like the cops are coming by because they're aware something's going on, and he's like, I'm not talking. Doesn't throw out his brother or anything. Doesn't
Hmm.
snitch anybody, but he just does not want to be involved with this. But eventually, it does become his problem because like they keep involving him in this whole thing. And
Hmm.
eventually, like I said, they do kill his brother.
Yes, they do. They do kill his brother, and Jim Brown has a crying scene. And maybe this is the one time where he's a little unconvincing. Like he's trying really hard to get some tears out.
He's trying, but it's a little too belly aching. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, that's kind of like where the vengeance part of this plot line starts to work in everything. So we did mention Martin Landau is the bad guy in this. That's another thing that I kind of take issue with this movie is he is hardly in this movie. Like for like seriously, like he has a bit scene at the beginning. He kind of gets built up. I think they try to make some type of um do some character building for him, but then he's gone from the movie for a very long time. He wasn't menacing, I guess, because of that.
and he has second billing too for this movie.
Yeah, he got a good paycheck for not being in it very much, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is very much Jim Brown's. I mean, really, I mean, Bruce Glover is like the main bad guy.
I would say so. Bruce Glover is in it much more, and
Even though he's Martin Landau's henchman.
yeah, he's the one who's going out and doing everything. It's way later in the movie, but the scene where Jim Brown kicks the crap out of him, or where they fight each other, which the camera work in that scene is insane because it's unlike anything else in the movie. It's like a man holding like the camera, just like walking around, shaking it and everything.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's right.
yeah. But that fight scene goes on forever. And like, of course, Bruce Glover rips off Jim Brown's shirt. So he's shirtless during this fight.
Got to see the muscles.
Yeah, you gotta. There's there's a really great cut earlier in the movie. Well, there's actually two women in this movie. I do another returning actress, Luciana Paluzzi, who was Fiona Volpe in Thunderball, shows up in this. Accent and all, so she does have her accent. I don't believe she is dubbed in this one.
Get the same woman from Thunderball to dub her again.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. That would be funny if you just like it's like a stunt person. You know how some actors have stunt people that they carry with them for years.
You never ever hear this person's voice. You just hear somebody else's voice every time.
Yeah, this is my dubbing guy. You just bring him around with me. They dub every movie I'm in.
Yeah, yeah, she shows up, but it turns out like she's like I guess like the main like one of the like the main crime bosses, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's like a whole separate plot line with a congressman who's actually trying to be friendly to Jim Brown, who actually comes off as kind of a decent person that wants change, but inadvertently, that girl and somebody he works with are a part of this criminal organization. So the congressman ends up being a bad guy, kind of by association, though.
Yeah. She's all right in it though.
She's fine. She's fine. Like I don't really like. She's not really a standout. Same with the other woman. Yeah, Brenda Sykes. She's fine. She has some funny moments at least. Like I do think it was funny how they transitioned them riding into the car and mid sentence the scene like cuts off to them laying in bed post sex.
Yeah, they do have to have a sex scene in this movie, of course.
It's the 70s. I feel like 70s exploitation, you have to have sex and nudity and everything.
Yeah, but it's not overly done. At least it's not like some movies where you watch where it's just like, oh, this has gone on way too long. Honestly, like one of the worst was actually that movie, Phantom of the Mall. That one was like
that
one of the like a disgustingly long sex scene.
Yeah, where it felt like softcore porn in a way.
Yeah.
Like this is like after sex and like you see some boobs. You know, it's not really like you don't question why the director put this into it because you know it is what it is to have a sex scene. But whenever it's like Phantom of the Mall, where it's just like gross and it's like, why did the director decide to do this for this long?
You know, and it's funny too, as you mentioned the director, because I really didn't know who it was, but I mean beforehand, and I still really don't. But I mean, I'm sure the Sandwich Man is fine.
Yeah, no.
But I was just gonna say, it's like he had like this big like blaxploitation movie, like lots of black actors, lots of black figureheads and stuff. But it's actually directed by like a British man. Like
Yeah.
like a classy British guy.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's a British man, and this was his first and last American movie he made, I guess. Because he died very soon after this movie came out. Yeah.
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 Hey, made a good one.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I would like to go through maybe one day, just because I brought it up, we will watch The Sandwich Man. And he made the movie The Take, which stars Billy D. Williams. So that would be
What
fun to look into.
what's your ideal sandwich, man?
Sandwich, comma, man. I personally I like salami, and just put salami and maybe like provolone, some mustard. That's a great sandwich.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you? Let's take a
Uh,
quick break.
I like a good roast beef horseradish type of sandwich.
That is good. Yeah. All right, so there we go. Added to the drive-in double feature lore, our favorite sandwiches.
We're gonna come out with the drive-in double feature like restaurant menu, but
That would be pretty good. Just the Nathan sandwich, the Ryan sandwich, and it's
yeah.
just yeah. And then we do the branding like they do at BurgerFi, and it's the cartoon logo of our faces on the sandwich.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
But
You're gonna be fiending for those sandwich, just like my favorite scene in the movie where we have somebody fiending for some drugs. I love this scene, the bowling scene, where like the drug dealer's bowling, and this guy's like, "Man, I need a fix," and he's like sweating, freaking out.
That's the other thing. Like that guy he was like a British guy, right? It was like,
oh that's
on.
right. Yeah.
He's like, come on, Jimpy. I need it.
What's this guy doing here? He moved here from America and he got addicted to drugs.
Right. That was the drug dealer's name, Jimpy.
Jimpy, yeah. And I love that he's ignoring him the entire way. Like he's just continuing the bowl, and like the camera even moves with him as this guy's just behind him the whole time. Like, please, I need some, and he's just, I'm not giving you nothing, man.
It's like, man, remember what I told you? I saw Scotty.
That's right.
And the guy is like, this is the last one, man.
Yeah. That's a good little scene. Yeah,
There's a lot of good I like the other bowling alley scene too, when they finally confront the drug dealer too.
That's right. Yeah, where they like where they end up beating him up, but well, I thought they killed him, but I guess they only get him very close to death.
No, because eventually, like I said, once Gunn finds out his brother's been murdered, he goes on like trying to figure out who killed him, and he figures out that the drug dealer was the one that sold his brother out, and they go and confront him at the bowling alley, and they're like, they're like, hey man, why don't we just stick this needle like straight in your eyeball and see what happens, type of thing. And he's like, no, please. He's like, you're right. No reason to waste good horse.
Yeah, exactly. I had to double take because I forgot. I just waste good horse. I was like, huh? Horseradish, like on a roast beef sandwich.
Yeah, that's what I say. Don't forget the horse.
Don't forget the horse. And then at your local Arby's, you get heroin with your order.
I know, so disappointing.
Yeah, unfortunate.
But no, I did like that because they do intimidate them, and they're like, come on. It's like, no, they'll kill me if they find out. He's like, man, I'm about to kill you in 3 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a good one. That's funny that this movie has multiple scenes in a bowling alley, because there are 2 cops in this movie. Honestly, to me, they're kind of throwaway characters. I mean, not that they're bad or anything, but they kind of just show up from time to time, put the, like, I know something's going on, Gunn. Your brother did something. We need to figure it out. But the cops do come and kind of get this guy, and they pop up every once in a while.
Yeah, they pop in every now and then.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, until right now, as we talked about this movie, I completely forgot those characters existed.
No, I mean, they really don't do it. Like they intimidate Gunn in that one scene where they're trying to figure out where his brother is. And
yeah,
a couple other ones, nothing too memorable.
No. And I mean, There's another funny scene with two white women undressing Jim Brown, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take care of you," and
Oh
then
yeah, that was a weird scene. I didn't know what that.
I didn't get it either. And Brenda Sykes was like, it's her roommates, and she's like, "Hey, get away from him!" Like, it's her roommates is trying to steal her man, and it happens multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think the ending works really well because finally Martin Landau shows up. Jim Brown, they kind of get a big confrontation. And there's something I really like about it with the shot of Jim Brown. He does get beat up, and Martin Landau is like looking down at him and has like POV looking down
Oh
and then
yeah.
looking up at Martin Landau. I thought those were actually really creative shots.
I like that shot too because the POV shot and he's holding like an acetylene torch
Yeah.
and like and he's like one he's like one swipe across the eyes and all you'll be seeing is black.
Yeah. No,
Eh,
this is Martin Landau having he looks like he's having fun. He's doing a good time and a good job as the villain.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what an ending too. What a car chase at the end.
Yeah, it to me it felt like they got the car and they flipped it and destroyed it really quickly. Like it was like, okay, we're making our getaway now, and then they just flip it like
Yeah.
immediately.
But it does end with Martin Landau getting set on fire.
Yes, yeah, what a great way to end the movie. Yeah, he does get lit. It's like one of those great effects of like that you see at the theme parks of somebody lit on fire running around.
Which, like I thought that's where the movie was gonna end.
I thought so
Like
too.
like they were gonna just like do like another hard, like, oh, it's over type of thing. Like he killed him. And
Yeah.
instead the movie goes on for like another couple of minutes where he
Mhm.
shows him recovering in bed. And then the cop just shows up and he's like, did I do good? It was something like,
Mhm.
it's like, well, you here to arrest me? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, what charges? Like, charges? Like, you think I got all day or something like that?
Yeah, I like that this movie showed like you're
like
gonna get
this
some
had to,
justice.
like, okay, yeah, you got your revenge, but there's some very serious consequences with what you just did.
Yeah, yeah, that seems like a very like I don't know, British like a British thing. Like, yeah, you did save people, but you still committed a crime. So let's go to jail, buddy.
You just murdered a bunch of people. You have to go to
Yeah.
jail.
And doesn't it end with him getting in the cop car? Isn't that the final shot of the movie?
Yeah, he goes to jail at the end of the movie.
You don't see that a lot.
No, imagine like if that movie Taken, like he just Liam Neeson just gets like arrested at the end of the movie. Like,
Right.
you just killed a bunch of
Yeah,
people.
it's like Die Hard, right? Like, he killed the terrorist and all that, and they're like, well, you did a good job killing the terrorist, but we're still gonna have to take you in and put you in jail for a little
Yeah,
bit.
John McClane gets arrested at the end of the movie.
Uh-huh.
Well, that would have been a very sad Christmas.
Yes, huh?
It was a Christmas movie.
Well,
Anyway,
just because it takes place during we don't have to
no,
get into
it's
it.
Christmas. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think Black Gun was a great Christmas movie.
Okay, you're taking it too far.
No,
No, Black Gun was a fun movie. I don't think it's amazing. I think we've seen better blaxploitation, but it's a very solid entry. Like I think it's a pretty good entry in like the genre.
I liked it. I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just like you said, it's it was like an old familiar friend visiting.
Yeah,
Like yeah, I remember these types of movies. We used to do these types of movies. I remember when Drive-In Double Feature used to be better.
and when they weren't talking about dry, it is like familiar. It's like the bread and butter of the show. It's like a slasher. It's like oh, we get to be comfortable, and then every once in a while we like to hop off and do some crazy stuff, like
Yeah.
like Buffalo 66.
Drive My Car, Drive.
Yeah, Drive My Car might be the most ridiculous one that we've covered.
Hey,
And
what a great time though.
yeah, it's always a blast doing this.
But no, I would give Black Gun a recommend. It's a lot of fun. Got lots of cool action scenes. It's very easy to watch. Definitely an easy recommend.
For sure. Well, Ryan, I think that wraps it up today. What are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're going to be talking about the time that I escaped from Devil's Island.
I remember you talking about doing something like that.
Yeah, if we're going to hear all about my tale, you can see it right now on YouTube for free.
Okay, cool. Well, I can't wait to see you play.
Yeah, I play a communist.
Oh, no, I thought your name was JoJo in the movie.
I'm a real fancy boy, that's for
A real
sure.
fancy boy. But I am excited to watch that movie. If you did enjoy today's episode, email us at driveadoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to tweet at us at DIDFpod. But until next time.
Until next time.